how to create a CLI application in Python using argparse, but having subcommands. And in this case, what I mean by subcommands is, for instance, here I'm running Git, my Git application just for version control, and I'm using, for instance, Git remote. Remote would be the subcommand, and this subcommand still can take parameters. And Git has a number of subcommands. Git help, and then yeah, we have all these commands, show, status, and so on. And this is what we want to do in our case. So argparse is pretty simple, not the best documentation, but it's pretty simple. And when you are creating just one CLI, like a simple CLI application, it's easy. But when you have subcommands, the documentation is kind of weird. So the documentation is here. Actually, just look for argparse for Python, and you can go down below and there will be a section about subcommands, and this is what we will be using. It's a little, like, not super clear, but that's what we're gonna show here in this application. So what I have here is a some structure for my repository, but don't worry about that. This is just because I'm working on an application, but we are going to be using the main file, just that. So the first thing we're going to use is we're going to import, of course, argparse, and then I'm going to go down below. Don't worry about these other functions. We're going to start creating our main function, and it returns, and then it executes the main, right? So the first thing, I'm gonna uncomment this, and here we are creating the parser, essentially, and I'm just passing some parameters here. This is the name of my application, and this is some description. I'm working on a static block generator. And then what we do is, this is the simple use case when we add a command, a single, not a command, but a parameter or an argument. So in the parser, the main parser, we're just adding one argument, which is the version, the -b or -- version, and this will just print the version, will print our software version. And if we run it like that, it should work. So let me run it, something like Python source main version, and it didn't run, and that's because, of course, we didn't parse it, I think. Let's go ahead and try it again, and the version is there. Okay, so let's go back to the code, and now we are going to add the first command. So let me uncomment this, and we are essentially adding a sub parser using this function. Again, we're adding some documentation or some help, and then let me uncomment this one, and we are going to here add the first command. So in the sub parsers variable that we created above, we're gonna add a parser, and in this case we're gonna add the command file, which will help me convert a file into an HTML file, because I'm creating, again, a static block generator. So I'm converting markdown files into HTML files, this application. But and that's another point. So what we're doing here is just creating or adding a command, and then gonna go ahead and uncomment this, and I'm gonna add the first argument to this command, which will be file name. So, and again, adding some help. And finally, this is the interesting part. We are assigning a function to this parser file. This is the first command. This will hold the first command objects. So we are adding a default function, or we are adding a function that will be run when we execute our CLI application passing the first subcommand, which is file. So this will run the convert underscore file function, right? So once we prepared the command, if we go down below and uncomment this line, this is the main, these are the arguments, or these the parse arguments. We can run, or we can execute a function and pass in those parse arguments. And this .func is this parameter here that we are adding, this object that we're adding to the subcommand. So it will execute the convert underscore file function, and that's it. That's all we need, and we are adding our first command. So let's go back to the top, and I'm gonna uncomment the function. This will be the function that will be run or executed once we run the file command. Okay, so let me save this, and let's test again. Let's try the version, still works. And then let's run the first command, file, and then we will pass the argument, which is the file name. So let's say my file dot markdown, and then the function is executed. And the function just prints the name of the file. That is the parameter that we passed. So this way we added our first command to our CLI, our first subcommand to our CLI, and it's actually pretty simple. It's easier than one thinks. And it's pretty cool because now we can, for instance, request for the help, and we will have here the usage of our application, which we called reblog. And then you can see that you can pass either the help or the version arguments, but also you can pass commands here. And then the help will tell you these are the available commands. In this case, we only have one file. And this command also tells you what the command is for. It's to convert a file into HTML. And then you can also execute the command and ask for the help for that specific subcommand. So help for the file command. And then we can see that now we are, the usage of the application is reblog file, and then you can pass the file name. And the file name means you need to pass the file name. And that's it. And we have a very complete application now, or let's say just the structure, right? But this can become a full application, and we can keep adding commands. For instance, we can now add a command to convert not a file but a directory. And here again, I'm going to uncomment this to prepare my function. This will execute the logic for converting directories. And then if we go down below, we can add another parser. Instead of parser file, we will add a parser dir, or parser for the directory command. And then we will add to the subparsers, we will add the command dir. We will add also an argument to that subparser, which will be dir name, and then we will also specify that this time we're gonna execute the convert dir function instead of the convert file function. So now we have another subcommand, the second subcommand, and the rest of the function stays the same because now we are just parsing the arguments, and then we are saying execute the function for whatever was requested by the user. So again, now we can get the help for the other command, which was dir, the other subcommand, and now it didn't work because I didn't save. Let me go save. And now it worked. And now we can see that there is a subcommand called dir now, and we need to pass the dir name. And dir name means we need to pass the directory name. So now we have two commands, and again we can request for just the main application help, and we see that now we have two commands, file and dir, and we have the documentation or the help for the two commands, and we also, as I just showed, we can request for the specific command help, the new command help dir or file. And that's it. I mean, we can keep adding commands as we need. And this is pretty simple and pretty neat. I think it's pretty neat. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep adding functions, and then at some point I'm gonna be implementing these functions with the logic I need to create my application that generates a blog or pages for a blog, taking markdown files, and then my this code is in my repository, my GitHub repository. I will paste it down below in the comments. You can go check the code if you want, and you can see how this application is growing. Thanks for watching.